Hey, welcome to another KATcast. Kevin Hilly along with Aaron Hart, Jordan J. We're talking about spouses today. How did you meet your spouse? Mm-hmm. Jordan J., we'll start with you.
Okay, so I actually met my spouse at church. We went to the same church for a really long time. Basically knew her throughout my whole life, but
that's like the most wholesome thing I've ever heard.
I know, right? Isn't that great? But so yeah, I met her in church. She went to Catholic school, so I went to public school. So we didn't really that's not how we met. Mm-hmm. We'd see each other, but once she hit 8th grade, and then 9th grade happened. Once she was like high school age, it went from no longer private school didn't exist. They didn't have a high school private school,
right?
So basically, they're basically like, all right, after you hit 8th grade, on to public school with you. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, then we were actually in high school together, and I got to see her more and more every single day, and we had a couple classes together, and we talked more and more, and just started hitting it off. We actually hit it off, and we had like a youth gathering thing. We went to like New Orleans for this giant youth troop.
Nice.
And, it was real cool. So that's where we really got to start talking.
So
but
Jordan J. married his high school sweetheart. How adorable is that?
I did indeed.
Aaron, you're going to hate this. I met my wife in church, too.
Nice. See?
Yeah. We went to the same church. Actually, though, see, we were...
Forget dating sites. Go to church.
You find a nice girl in church. No, we went to the same church, but we hung out in a group of friends. There was like 5 or 6 of us that kind of hung around together, and we were all just friends, you know.
Yeah.
And it's funny because our friends would say about me and her, "Oh, you guys ought to date. You ought to go out." And we're like, "Oh, get out of here! You guys are nuts," you know. And she was also a waitress at a pancake house that I used to like to go to.
And that spoke to Hilly's heart.
I'm telling you, yeah. So I used to go in there, and I would ask for her station. So like where she was working, so she would come over to the table all the time, and we started talking. So that's kind of how we started off, and then eventually friendship developed into more.
Wow, look at you guys. Let's see. I had to have a pulmonary embolism and almost kicked the bucket. That's how I met the husband. Yeah, thought I had a chest cold. Turns out I was having a pulmonary embolism. I had blood clots in my lungs. I had one clot behind my left knee, and it was just spitting out smaller clots.
Wow.
And it had been, I guess, for a couple of days. And I just remember being really exhausted. And, turns out I was trying to die.
Yeah.
So
that's where
she obviously didn't try hard enough.
I'm sleepy.
Yeah.
It's like that's your body being like, it's time to die now.
Yeah.
You're like, whoa. Well, I'm glad you didn't, Aaron.
Yeah, I know. Well, hey, me too. But I spent a couple of days in the ICU up at university, and then when I got released, they said, "Hey, do you want to see the hematologist here on staff?" I said, "No, actually." I was like, my mom's got a history of blood clots. So does my grandmother, my aunt. I said, they see Dr. Kajasta, and that's who I went and saw. And the husband was one of his nurses.
How about that?
Yeah.
There's meant to be. That's like my circumstance of the only reason I was at this youth gathering to begin with to really kick things off with my wife was I wasn't even going to go initially. I had just broken up with an ex-girlfriend, and I wasn't even in the mindset of I want to have fun. I was my dad basically was like, you should go to this thing. It'll get your mind off. So my dad kind of pushed me, and it just so happened that my wife, at the time, she had a softball injury, and that's the reason why she was going. She wouldn't even been there. She was having surgery, and so it allowed her to be able to go, and then 2 days later, she was having surgery.
It's funny how circumstances work out. Things that you don't expect. Because again, this group of friends that we were all a part of, like I said, 5 or 6 people, we were all going to do this group trip to New England. We're going to go to New Hampshire and Vermont and everything, just kind of spend that time, a long weekend sort of thing. And then one by one is I can't afford it. I'm dropping out. And then somebody else, we can't make it. Sorry, something else coming. One by one, this group all started dropping out, except me and her. And we're like, we can still do this. She goes, okay. So I drove. I spent all the money for the most part. And we spent that. And again, everything, it was purely platonic. The whole time. No funny business went on or anything like that, And
was it after that trip you knew? You were like, I think I like this.
We got back on Columbus Day, 1988. And we suddenly realized, hey, guess what? We're in love. That was it. That was what,
And the fact that Hilly didn't whip out his calculator afterwards and say, okay, well,
here's what you
owe me this for gas. And we stopped to split a sandwich.
If you guys talk to her, I'm telling you, there are stories that she will tell you, stuff that from her own perspective and angle that you will laugh at, okay, about her view of how everything happened. But I'm telling you, this is from mine. This is how it all occurred.
That's the Hilly Disney version.
It's awesome how that stuff works out, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I remember my mom and dad told me this one story. It was this crazy, bizarre thing where they even ended up meeting before they actually knew each other. It was they both ended up happening to be at the same party at the exact same time. And my mom at the time was in this bathroom that locked and they couldn't unlock it. So my dad kicked the door in. I guess everyone was mad and needed to use the bathroom. So my dad literally kicked the door open but didn't go in the bathroom. So it was funny. My mom just recently they were explaining the story and my mom literally just stops and gets all wide-eyed and looking at my dad and he's like, "What?" And she's like, "That was you that kicked the door open?" It was just funny. It's this whole realization where it's they met before they even met. It was so cool.
Who knew that someday?
Yeah, exactly. You know?
Yeah, no kidding. I don't know. It's just weird how things work out, And I think what I liked the most about the husband is he had no clue what I did for a living. None.
See, that's how you know you got to keep her because it's not somebody who's suddenly latching onto you because you are
treating you different because exactly.
There's a big misconception that we have access to all these tickets and all these freebies and all this, So I had gone on multiple dates with lots of different people, and as soon as that was brought up, oh, can you get me Cardinals tickets? Oh, can you get me Chiefs tickets? Oh, can you get me George Strait tickets? I said, yeah, sure, buddy, I'll work on that. And out the door I'd go. Because
and by the way, while we could have in the past, things have changed.
It's not like that now.
It's all digital,
since 2020, it doesn't work like that anymore.
Right. So it's the fact that he had no clue what I did for a living. Right there, that was very attractive to me.
It's funny. I was out of radio for a couple of years when my wife and I met, and she's like, you're so miserable, you ought to get back into radio. I was like, oh, I really miss radio. That's what it was. I'd say, oh, I really miss radio. She goes, well, get back in it. I go, no. Here's the thing. I don't know where I'm going to end up. Now we were in Pennsylvania at the time, Philadelphia area. And it's like, I don't know where I'm going to end up. This job could take me anywhere. This is what an incredible woman I married. She goes, you know what? I don't care. Wherever you go, I will go with you.
Wow.
We will go. I don't care.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And
so that gave me the freedom to entertain offers from all around the country, and we ended up, we did end up going up and down the East Coast and a bunch of other places. And we ultimately ended up in Missouri. But this is a woman who was willing to.
That's how you know.
Do what was necessary for me to live that professional dream.
Well, the husband's like that too. I've had some offers, down the road and stuff, and I'll say, hey, so and so hit me up on LinkedIn, or so and so emailed me, Oh, well, hey, before I know it, he's looked up houses, he's looked up jobs for him, and I'm like, pump your brakes.
Slow your roll here, dude.
My parents are 15 minutes down the road.
I'm not leaving the area.
We're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he's the same way. He's like, okay, cool. Well, I've got an interview on Tuesday. I'm like, well, wait. Cancel, because we're not going anywhere. Yeah. So
it's cool to have a spouse like that, though. That's just willing to
supportive,
be very supportive. Be like, you want to move? Hey, let's do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I mean, because they realize, she realizes, he realizes what's important to you, and is support that. And it's funny too, because through the years, my wife she'll meet somebody and they'll find out, oh, your husband's Kevin Hilly. Yeah. He is so fun. He must keep you laughing all the time. And she's like, yeah, what a blessing. What a blessing.
Yeah.
They don't realize she has heard the same 30 jokes for the same 30 times, So
as we all have.
Exactly.
So let us know, how did you meet your significant other?
Yeah,
were you like Kevin and Jordan? You met him in church, and apparently I didn't go to church. I had to go to a hospital.
Not the only way.
It's not the only way. There's many ways.
Yeah, that's right. But, let us know. Let us know how you met and the whole story. We would love to hear from you. Just you can shoot us an email, catcountry@mailzimmer.com, or you can always reach out to us on the Facebook page or Instagram, the old Tickety Talk, wherever you want to.
We're many places now.
Really are.
We are. And if you're watching on YouTube or any number of other places, would you give us a subscribe? We sure appreciate it. You'll know that when the next KATcast is out.
Yes.
That's right. You'll get a special notification. In fact, it drops there earliest.
Exactly.
Subscribe, little bell notification.
Right there.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Smack that bell.
Smack that
as
bell.
They say. There's one guy who does a podcast. He goes, smack that bell.
Smack that bell.
I wish I had thought of that. You know?
That's right.
And that is another edition of the KATcast. Thanks for joining us.